Hello, everyone. My name is Yaman, and I provide daily Tesla technology and market updates. Welcome to Tesla Live. Let's get started right away. We have a lot to cover. Markets are down. Dow Jones is down 1%. Nasdaq is down 0.4%. S&P 500 is down 0.5%. Russell 2000 is down 0.8%. Oil prices are up $4 per barrel or 6%. They were up almost to $80 per barrel in the morning. They pulled back a little bit. Treasury yields are up substantially as well, 8 basis points across the curve. Let's look at our heat map. Visa, MasterCard, and other financial companies are standing out as the leading companies on the way down, down 5%. We're going to look into why that is later in this episode. NVIDIA is down 1%. Other chip stocks are down as well. Apple is down 1%. Microsoft is down 0.3%. Tesla is moving up in the last an hour or so. We're going to look into why that is as well. Google is up. Healthcare companies are mixed, and everything else is red to mixed. Industrials, as you can see here as well. One thing that is worthy of noting is oil prices have surged in the last day or so, but that's a continuation of the trend first half of June. Oil prices moved from $60 per barrel to all the way to $78 per barrel as of this morning. This is going to be a headwind for inflation, this inflation story June numbers will be announced second week of July. So we're going to keep an eye on this story. We're going to look into the Middle East as well. Wall Street falls as Israel-Iran conflict hits risk appetite. Wall Street's main indices fell on Friday after Israel's deadly strike on Iranian nuclear facilities inflamed tensions in the oil-rich Middle East and battered risk sentiment across global markets. During this live stream, if you have any questions, comments, you may leave it in the live chat on X or YouTube. After the live stream is over, you can leave a comment. I read all comments and try to respond to everything. Israel has warned that the wide-scale strikes were the start of a prolonged operation to prevent Tehran from building an atomic weapon. Iran has promised a harsh response. Oil prices surged nearly 7% on fears the conflict could disrupt crude supply from the Middle East. U.S. energy stocks rose in tandem with Exxon, up 2%. Airline stocks dropped as fuel costs could surge if supply bottlenecks materialize. Delta was down 4%, United was down 4%, American Airlines also declined 5%. Defense stocks climbed with Lockheed Martin, RTX Corporation, Northrop Grumman gaining between 2 to 3%. We have major domestic policy uncertainty, and now on top of that, you have geopolitical unrest, which not only is impacting oil markets, but the broader risk premium, said Eric Thiel, Chief Investment Officer at Comerica Wealth Management. Washington said it had no part in the operation, but President Trump suggested Iran had brought the attack on itself. We're going to dig into the Middle East first, and then talk about Tesla, Waymo, other companies, macroeconomics, and then NVIDIA. Trump tells Iran to do a deal now after Israel blasts nuclear and military targets. Israel launched a series of strikes against Iran, targeting nuclear facilities, missile factories, and killing several senior military commanders. Iran promised a harsh response, including the launch of drones towards Israel, but this was denied by the Iranian source. U.S. President Trump, while denying U.S. involvement, suggested Iran brought the attack on itself by resisting U.S. ultimatum in nuclear talks and urged Iran to make a deal. This is a Reuters article. Israel launched a barrage of strikes against Iran on Friday, saying it had attacked nuclear facilities and missile factories and killed a swath of military commanders in what could be a prolonged operation to prevent Tehran building an atomic weapon. What I find really interesting in this turn of events is that the oil prices responded dramatically. I mean, they were up at one point $20 from $60 per barrel at the beginning of the month. In the last 10 days or so, oil prices have been moving up as the word of this attack started spreading. So from 60 to 80, you're looking at $20 of increase. So in a matter of a couple of weeks, oil prices went up by 1/3. Though Washington, so this did not happen in previous attacks in previous years. So let's see what's different here. Though Washington said it had no part in the attack, U.S. President Trump, Israel's main ally, suggested that Iran had brought the attack on itself by resisting an U.S. ultimatum in talks to restrict its nuclear program. Quote, I think it's been excellent. We gave them a chance and they didn't take it. They got hit about as hard as you're going to get hit. And there's more to come, a lot more, end quote. He was quoted as saying on Friday in an interview with ABC News. 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. Trump added in a post on Truth Social. They should have done it. Today is day 61. Now they have perhaps a second chance. Iran promised a harsh response to the overnight onslaught, which killed the heads of both its armed forces and the powerful Revolutionary Guards. Israel said about 100 drones had been launched towards Israeli territory in retaliation, although an Iranian source denied this. Around 8 o'clock GMT, an order to Israeli citizens to remain near protected areas had been lifted, suggesting that most or all of the drones had been intercepted. In a televised message, President Masoud Pezeshkian urged Iranians to stand by their leaders and said a powerful response, quote, will make Israel regret its foolish act, end quote. Iran told the UN Security Council, due to meet on Friday at Tehran's request, in a letter that it will respond decisively and proportionally to Israel's unlawful and cowardly acts. Iran's Noor News says 78 people had been killed and 329 injured in Israeli attacks on the residential areas in Tehran. The price of crude leapt around 8% on fears of wider retaliatory attacks across a major oil producing region. The national Iranian oil companies said refining and storage facilities had not been damaged and continued to operate. OPEC Secretary General Hatem Al-Ghais on Friday said that the escalation between Israel and Iran did not justify any immediate changes to oil supply as current conditions remain stable. An Israeli security source said Mossad commandos had been operating deep inside the Islamic Republic before the attack, and the Israeli spy agency and military had mounted a series of covert operations against Iran's strategic missile array. Israel also established an attack drone base near Tehran, the source added. The military said it had bombarded Iran's air defenses, destroying dozens of radars and surface-to-air missile launchers. Iran said several top commanders and 6 nuclear scientists have been killed, including the Armed Forces Chief of Staff, Major General Mohammad Bagheri, and the Revolutionary Guards Chief Hossein Salami. In all, at least 20 senior commanders were killed, 2 regional sources said. The head of the Revolutionary Guards Air Space Force, Amir Ali Hajizadeh, also reported to be among them. Iran's Fars news agency, citing a security source, denied Israeli reports that Tehran had launched drones towards Israel. Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility at Natanz suffered a significant damage, Israeli military spokesman Brigadier General Efi Defrin said. Briefing journalists online, Defrin said 200 Israeli fighter jets took part in the strikes, hitting more than 100 targets, with others to work through, and that the operation might be lengthy. Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's longest-serving prime minister, invoked the horrors of the Nazi Holocaust to justify his decision to attack Iran, framing the strikes as a decisive step to protect Israel from a future existential threat. His office said he would speak to Trump later in the day. Just before 6 a.m. Washington time, Trump posted on his Truth Social platform, I gave Iran chance after chance to make the deal, he said. There has been already great depth and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there's nothing left, end quote. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said in a statement that Israel had unleashed its wicked and bloody hand and would suffer a bitter fate. At one time, Israel might have expected a wave of retaliation from Iranian-backed militias around the region. But since war erupted in Gaza on October 2023, Israel has severely weakened Iran's allies, assassinating the top leaders of the Palestinian militant group Hamas and Lebanon's Hezbollah. Airlines quit the airspace over Israel, Iran, Iraq, and Jordan after the Israeli strikes, Flight Trader 24 data showed, with carriers diverting or canceling flights. Israeli carriers El Al, Ishari, and Arkia said they were moving their planes out of Israel, and Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport was shut. Dubai-based Emirates canceled flights to and from Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, and Iran as Iran closed its airspace. However, merchant shipping continued to pass through Strait of Hormuz and the mouth of the Gulf, although some ship owners were looking to avoid the region. Israel remained on alert, shutting its embassies around the world and urging citizens via embassy websites to stay vigilant and avoid displaying Jewish or Israeli symbols in public. Israeli military chief of staff Eyal Zamir said tens of thousands of soldiers had been called up and prepared across all borders. Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi joined global calls for de-escalation. Quote, at an extremely critical time when the US was negotiating a nuclear deal with Iran, that would save the whole region and the world a new vicious escalation, he said on X. US and Iranian officials have been scheduled to hold a sixth round of talks on Tehran's escalating uranium enrichment program in Oman on Sunday. Oman, which is mediating in Iran-US nuclear talks, described Israel's attack as reckless and urged the international community to halt the dangerous course of action. Iran's armed forces spokesperson accused Washington of providing support for the operation. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the US had not been involved and that Israel had acted unilaterally in self-defense. US officials have repeatedly said any new nuclear deal to replace a 2015 accord between Tehran and 6 world powers from which Trump withdrew must include commitment to scrap uranium enrichment, a prerequisite for developing nuclear bombs. The Islamic Republic insists that it wants nuclear energy only for civilian purposes. The IEA's Board of Governors on Thursday declared Iran in breach of its non-proliferation obligations for the first time in almost 20 years. Interesting. Some Iranian citizens opposed to the ruling, clerics expressed hope that Israel's attack might lead to their downfall, though one Tehran resident who was not a supporter of critical rule said his countries must retaliate. We can't afford not to respond. Either we surrender and we take our missiles or we fire them. There is no other option. And if we don't, we'll end up surrendering them anyway. Trump was convening his National Security Council on Friday morning, the White House said. All right. Thanks for bearing with me on that long article. I think it's an important one. It can really shape a lot of things that we discuss, from macroeconomics to geopolitics to Tesla. Now, let's switch to the auto industry. Trump says he may soon hike auto tariffs to get more US production. Let's read the summary on this. Not much. I apologize for that. I'm going to look for another article. Let's switch to Tesla. Sawyer Merritt announces breaking news. The NHTSA has announced the next step in its automated vehicle framework, looking to erase rules hindering Tesla, Cybercab, and others. This is the Trump administration has taken steps that would make it easier for automakers to deploy self-driving cars without driver controls. NHTSA anticipates reaching decisions on most exemption requests within months rather than years. Current rules require automakers that want to deploy self-driving cars designed without a steering wheel or brake pedals to seek an exemption from federal safety standards that effectively require that new cars have human driving controls. The NHTSA will streamline the exemption process, which under current policy has resulted in lengthy processing times that can last years, the agency said in a letter posted on its website today. NHTSA anticipates publishing the enhanced instructions shortly and will begin implementing the modified approach on evaluating exemption requests immediately. Tesla stock moved up on the news. And you can see the full letter here. Okay. Let's move on to other Tesla news. Tesla has introduced an updated Model S and X. It added a front bumper camera with washer. Everything else are minor changes. There's a new color, and the prices have moved out $5,000. I don't think this is going to be anything material for Tesla. Let's move on to Tesla US registration slide 16% in April, new data shows. So we're going to talk about EV registrations in US, and then we're going to talk global as well. There's also some Waymo news and some other company news as well. Tesla weakness in the US mirrors. Let me check first if there are any questions, comments. All right, let's continue. Tesla weakness in the US mirrors cratering European sales stemming from CEO Elon Musk's political activities and new competition. I think that's fair. New data shows Tesla sales declines that were seen abroad have hit the US market as well. S&P Global Mobility, via Automotive News, reports that Tesla EV registrations, a proxy for sales in April, dropped 16% to 39,900 registrations. Meanwhile, GM's Chevy saw a 215% jump in EV registrations to finish the second spot, with Ford slipping to third place as sales fell 33%. Overall, EV registrations fell 4.4% in April compared to a year ago, the first year-over-year decline since February 2024, per S&P Global Mobility. EV market share in April fell 6.6% from 7.4% a year ago. So this is not, EV adoption, the idea that it's growing, I think it's an assumption. It's not, it doesn't appear to be a reality. Every Tesla electric vehicle model saw a sales drop in April, except for the Model 3 sedan. Following Q2 earnings, Tesla said the switch over to the new Model Y SUV led to a production shutdown at its factories around the globe, hurting production. Nevertheless, Tesla's sales drop in April reflects a recent worrying pattern for the company seen in European sales data. Per the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, Tesla EV registrations in Europe fell a whopping 49% in April compared to a year ago to 14,228. And I think in May and June, this has not gotten any better. So when Q2 numbers are announced in 2 weeks or so, I think Tesla bulls are going to be real surprised. Earlier this month, data from France's PFA National Auto Lobby reported new Tesla registration dropped 67% in May to 721 units, with overall sales down 47% year to date. Mobility Sweden reported Tesla EV registrations tumbled 53.7% to 503 units in the country in May from a year earlier. Demand weakness in the EU and recent protests at US Tesla showrooms follow CEO Elon Musk's foray into politics, causing some Tesla owners become alienated by Musk, specifically by his right-leaning tendencies, leadership of the Department of Government Efficiency DOGE, and outward support of President Trump. In the US, concerns over the loss of federal EV tax credits, among other issues, led CEO Elon Musk to wage a surprising war of words with President Trump, which has only recently begun to cool off. While tensions appear to be waning, Musk and Tesla now have to deal with the potential brand hit Tesla took because of Musk's support for Trump and now backlash from the right due to his attack on the Trump-backed budget bill. Tesla's brand issues do not include the actual competitive threats Tesla is facing from legacy automakers too. Chevy, with its Equinox EV and Blazer EV, is taking more market share, and GM's Cadillac brand has popular luxury EVs like Lyriq and Optiq, which boosted registrations by 104% compared to a year ago in April. I mean, this doesn't even begin to tell the whole story. In China, the second half of this year is going to be disastrous for Tesla. I think people are really going to be surprised by the incoming competition in the second half of this year. Let's switch to autonomy, how Waymo got the edge on competition and Tesla's robotaxi so far. This article is by Pras Subramanian. Alphabet's Waymo has a big head start. Can competitors like Tesla close the gap? Quote, we are being super paranoid about safety. That's what Tesla CEO Elon Musk said after revealing the company's robotaxi test would start on June 22, later than expected, adding that the date could shift beyond that. Meanwhile, betting site Polymarket lists only a 30% chance that Tesla launches the service before July, highlighting Musk's rosy predictions on self-driving that had been constantly pushed back. While Tesla is on the verge of starting a new chapter for the company, Alphabet's Waymo has been quietly racking up mile after mile, trip after trip, providing actual paid robotaxi rides to customers in San Francisco, Phoenix, Los Angeles, and Austin, where Tesla's test will begin. At stake is a huge opportunity for companies like Waymo, Tesla, and others. Goldman analyst Mark Delaney estimates the market for traditional ride-hailing in the US is worth approximately $58 billion currently, but could be worth more than $330 billion by 2030. With robotaxi-type services pushing the industry forward and reducing costs by, among other factors, not requiring a human driver. Waymo has an early lead, and it seems a big one. Rivals like Argo AI and GM-backed Cruise are gone, leaving only smaller players like Zoox, backed by Amazon, China's Pony AI, and WeRide, and of course, Tesla. Waymo, before it was even called that, started off as an in-house startup as part of Google's X initiative way back in 2009. After some testing and securing the permits, the project officially became Waymo in 2016, and it started testing its Pacifica hybrid vans kitted out with cameras, LiDAR laser sensors, and radar. In 2018, Waymo and Jaguar paired up using the British automaker's I-Pace EV for its testing. These are the vehicles most users are accustomed to seeing. Waymo's combination of vision, radar, and LiDAR, which the company calls its multimodal approach, has the company claiming it has the best and safest robotaxi solution. Since 2020, anyone in a service near can download the Waymo app and hail a fully autonomous car. Waymo says it has the most robotaxi miles driven and that the company performs around 250,000 trips a week. A Waymo spokesperson said that the company has not yet seen a vision on the system that can achieve the levels of safety its current system has achieved, asserting that multiple sensors with overlapping fields of view are the best solution. Experts tend to agree. Quote, Waymo is undoubtedly the leader in autonomous driving technology, with their self-driving software being widely regarded as the best in class, said University of San Francisco engineering professor William Riggs, an expert in autonomous technology. Quote, they have been around the longest, had patient capital, and have the most miles on the road, proving that self-driving tech works. Next, we're going to look at global EV sales rise in May as China hits 2025 peak. Okay, so we talked about US sales. Now we're going to talk about global, which I think is going to highlight some China data. Reuters article, global sales of electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles rose 24% in May compared with the same period a year ago, as strength in China offset slower growth in North America, according to market research firm Motion. Electric vehicle sales in China surpassed over 1 million units in a single month for the first time this year, driven by strong domestic demand and targeted export efforts from Chinese manufacturers, notably BYD, tapping into emerging markets. BYD's exports to Mexico and Southeast Asia, along with Uzbekistan, have significantly boosted sales in these regions, Motion data manager said. Fleet incentives in Germany and robust growth in Southern Europe helped lift the European market, while the expiry of Canadian subsidies dragged on North American demand, he added. Global automakers face a 25% import tariff into the US, the world's second largest car market, causing many of them to withdraw their outlooks for 2025. In Europe, new incentives for fleet buyers in Germany are expected to support EV sales through the second half of the year. Tesla's Model Y production in Berlin shields it from tariffs, yet it faces market share pressures as production ramps up globally amidst shifting trade tensions. President Trump's stance toward emissions standards and uncertainties around tariffs has also hampered EV growth in North America. In the US, tax credits for EVs are still available, but will begin phasing out from 2026, contributing to hesitation among buyers. Global sales of EV electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids rose to 1.6 million units in May. Sales in China grew more than 24% from the same month last year to 1.02 million vehicles. Europe posted a 36% increase to 330,000 units, while North American sales edged up just 7.5% to 160,000. Sales in the rest of the world rose 38% to 150,000 vehicles. So you can see the difference in sales numbers. It's incredible. China over 1 million, so out of 1.6 million total. That's incredible. Quote, the story this month with global vehicle sales is the continued chasm between Chinese market growth versus the faltering market in North America, end quote, Charles Lester said. Now, Chinese players are doing obviously great. They're dominating the EV world, but that's not the only thing. I mean, look at the thermal efficiency. Let's look at the thermal efficiency of Geely's new motor, new engine. This is a gasoline engine, a hybrid engine. So Geely announces the new PHEV system with a thermal efficiency of 47.26%. And most engines are between 30 to 35%. This is a major step up from that. So let's read into this. I think people really need to appreciate the expertise that the Chinese players have. It's not like the days of early 2000s. Geely officially announced the Lishan AI Hybrid 2.0 PHEV powertrain in China, Its core feature is a high thermal efficiency rate of 47.26%. It is said to be higher than the number of BYD's DMI system. The new Lishan system will comprise EMI, EMP, and hydrogen variants. Geely introduced the first Lishan plug-in hybrid system in 2021. It comprised an engine with a thermal efficiency of 43.32%. So that's a 4% increase in just 4 years. And a 3-speed DHT gearbox. Geely was quite inconsistent with an international name for this powertrain. In recent press releases, this system was called, etc. Despite messy naming, the updated PF system boasts impressive specs. So let's dig into technology a little bit more. According to Geely officials, the core element of the updated powertrain is a 1.5-liter engine. Now, this is gasoline, like the future is EV and everything, but to the extent that gasoline engines or hybrid engine systems increase their efficiency and achieve similar miles per gallon equivalent as EVs or Teslas, that reduces the transition speed from gasoline to fully electric. So that's why this is very important. According to Geely officials, the core element of the updated powertrain is a 1.5-liter engine. It has a thermal efficiency of 47.26%. For clarity, the BYD's BMI system has a thermal efficiency of 46.06%. Another benefit of Geely's 2.0 powertrain is AI algorithms. They are set to extend battery life by 15% due to precise control of small currents. And this engine is going to be on the roads in a few months. Like, this is not like a 5-10 year out kind of promise that they will never deliver on. Cars with the Lishan AI Hybrid 2.0 system and a 1.5-liter naturally aspired engine will have EMI badges. The first model with this powertrain is recently revealed, Geely Galaxy A7 sedan. It has a fuel consumption of 2 liters per 100 kilometers and a mixed range of 2,100 kilometers. That's incredible. Range of 2,100 kilometers. I think that's like 1,300 miles. The Galaxy A7 will enter the Chinese market in the second half of this year. The Lishan AI Hybrid 2.0 EMP system will offer a turbocharged ICE and all-wheel drive system. The Geely Galaxy M9 full-size SUV will become the first car to adopt it. Geely claims that AI will improve dynamic torque distribution. The Galaxy M9 has a mixed cruising range of 1,500 kilometers, a fuel consumption of 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers, and a 0 to 100 acceleration time of 4.5 seconds. This model will also launch in China in the second half of 2025. Yeah. I mean, look at the refresh that Tesla just put out after several years of not doing anything with S and X, which is super minor. And look at how fast the Chinese automakers are moving. What is more, the Lishan AI Hybrid 2.0 will adopt a hydrogen powertrain option. This new ICE will have a record-breaking thermal efficiency of 48.15%. The system will power a sedan and an SUV in the fourth quarter of 2025. Okay? And you can see some pictures of the vehicles here. Let's move on to macroeconomics. Please take a moment to like and repost this live stream and hit the like button and leave a comment on YouTube if you get a chance. US consumer sentiment rises for the first time this year as shock of high tariffs wears off. Consumers are starting to feel better about the trajectory of the US economy as President Trump has dialed back some of his most aggressive stances on tariffs, and Americans come to terms with the economic reality that tariffs are here to stay. The latest University of Michigan survey released Friday showed sentiment increase for the first time since December 2024, with the index rising to a reading of 60.5 above the 52.2 seen last month and the 53.6 expected by economists. The increase came after May recorded one of the lowest readings on record. Quote, consumers appear to have settled somewhat from the shock of the extremely high tariffs announced in April and the policy volatility seen in the weeks that followed. Survey of Consumer Director wrote in the release. Pessimism over the inflation outlook lessened in June as one-year inflation expectations plunged to 5.1% from the more than 4-decade high of 6.6% reached in May. Long-run inflation expectations, which track expectations over the next 5 to 10 years, also fell, hitting 4.1% in June, down from 4.2% in May. Still, Hu noted that consumer views of business conditions, personal finances, labor markets, stock markets, and buying conditions for big-ticket items all remain below where they were in December. Despite this month's notable improvement, consumers remain guarded and concerned about the trajectory of the economy, Su said. In April, the estimated U.S. effective tariff rate peaked around 27%, significantly higher than the 22.5% rate entering the year. But following pauses on many of Trump's reciprocal tariffs and 90-day pause on duties placed in China, the JP Morgan now estimates the U.S. effective tariff rate is closer to 14%. So that's still, about 5 times or 6 times more than what it was before this tariff talk. The rise in the University of Michigan's June survey follows a similar signal from May's consumer confidence reading from the conference board. The latest index reading from conference board was 98 in May, well above the 85 points seen in April and the 87.1 economists had expected. The expectation index surged off its 13-year low seen in April, reaching 72.8 in May, far above the 55.4 in the month prior. So I predict that in June, we're going to see another dip because of the surging oil and gasoline prices. Let's see what happens. In a research published on June 6, Goldman Sachs chief U.S. equity strategist David Costin pointed out that so-called soft economic data, which covers data points like consumer surveys, usually hits its cycle bottom before the hard economic data, like monthly readings on inflation or jobs. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, Visa and MasterCard stocks were down about 5%. So now let's look at why that is. Visa's stock fell 5.4%, MasterCard dropped 4.6%, American Express declined 2% after a Wall Street Journal report revealed major retailers are exploring stablecoin options to bypass traditional card payments. Fees. Other payment processes also suffered, with Capital One down 3%, PayPal falling 2.6%, Block dropping 2.4%. According to a report, retail giants including Walmart and Amazon.com have recently explored issuing their own stablecoins in the US, a move that could potentially save down billions in transaction fees by shifting payment processing outside the traditional financial system. Expedia Group and several major airlines have reportedly engaged in similar discussions. Stablecoins, which maintain a one-to-one exchange ratio with the government currencies, are backed by cash reserves or cash-like assets such as treasury securities, are currently primarily used for cryptocurrency transactions. However, their potential application in everyday retail transactions poses a significant threat to established payment networks. The retailer's final decisions reportedly hinge on the Genius Act, pending legislation that would establish a regulatory framework for stablecoins. While the bill has cleared a procedural hurdle, it still requires from both Senate and House. Potential entry of major retailers into the payment processing space with their own digital currencies could significantly disrupt the business model of traditional payment networks, which generate substantial revenue from transaction fees or charge to merchants. All right. On the chip front, AMD introduced the AMD Instinct MI350 series GPUs, featuring the Instinct MI350X and Instinct MI355X that set a new standard for Gen AI and high-performance computing. AMD news for you. And now look at NVIDIA's Jensen Huang says he disagrees with almost everything Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei said. Jensen Huang is not on board with some of Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei's predictions about advanced AI. Responding to a question about Amodei's recent prediction that AI could automate up to half of all entry-level office jobs within 5 years, Huang said he pretty much disagreed with almost everything his fellow AI CEO says. Quote, 1, he believes that AI is so scary that only they should do it, end quote, Huang said Amodei at the Breast Conference at Viva Technology in Paris. 2, he believes that AI is so expensive, nobody else should do it. And 3, AI is so incredibly powerful that everyone will lose their jobs, which explains why they should be the only company building it. He continues, I think AI is a very important technology, we should build it and advance it safely and responsibly, Huang continued. If you want things to be done safely and responsibly, you do it in the open. Don't do it in a dark room and tell me it's safe. Anthropic was founded by Amodi and other former OpenAI employees in 2021, with safety as one of their core missions. Many of Anthropic's founding teams reportedly left OpenAI owing to disagreements about the direction of safety culture at the company. Now, there's one more thing that I should mention. I don't know if it's going to be mentioned in this article, but Anthropic, I believe, is mostly controlled by Amazon, which produces its own training and inference chips. So the reliance, Anthropic's reliance or Amazon's reliance on NVIDIA's chips is declining. So this might be leading to the clash between the two CEOs that we're reading about. An Anthropic spokesperson told Fortune in a statement, quote, Dario has never claimed that only Anthropic can build safe and powerful AI. As the public record will show, Dario has advocated for a national transparency standard for AI developers, including Anthropic, so the public and policymakers are aware of the model's capabilities and risks and can prepare accordingly. He has also raised concerns about the economic impact of AI, particularly on entry-level jobs. Dario stands by these positions and will continue to do so, end quote. Amodi has made several public statements about his belief in the potential existential risks of AI. He said that he believes humanity may one day lose control of AI systems if they become smarter than humans. He's also raised concerns about rogue actors weaponizing advanced AI to create bioweapons, engineer cyber attacks, or unleash tools of mass disruption long before machines surpass human intelligence. More recently, in an interview with Axios, he predicted AI could wipe out roughly 50% of all entry-level white-collar jobs and urged lawmakers to prepare now to protect people's livelihoods. Huang acknowledged that the tech may have some impact on employees, but dismissed Amodi's recent bold claim. Quote, everybody's jobs will be changed. Some jobs will be obsolete, but many jobs are going to be created. Whenever companies are more productive, they hire more people, end quote, Huang said. All right, we read the parts about quantum computing yesterday. So on that note, thank you very much, everybody, for sticking with me on this long Friday episode. I think a lot of it was, important information. I try to cut down as much as I can, but sometimes if you want short clips, you can head over to my YouTube channel and just watch the short clips there. I try to post about 5 to 10 a day. Thank you very much, and I'll chat with you all next time. Take care.